And I know that you probably don't want to hear this, but since the lobbyist laws have changed and people can't go out and eat dinner together at night anymore, when people leave the legislative building at 5 o'clock or 6, they form these little groups and they go and eat by themselves. So they don't go out and, whereas lobbyists would take 50 people out to dinner, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and you would sit around a table and you would talk about what the issues were. And you don't do that anymore. So, I mean, we've created a monster by ethics training, and it all sounds good, and it is good. But what it has is isolated legislators that, you just don't go out and socialize and talk anymore. And that's what we're missing in Raleigh. And in the law, a lot of it prevents you from doing it. And the other thing is you've got the press and paparazzi following you all the time, trying to make a story. As far as your freedoms, we made sure you have school choices in this state. We also have allowed for school vouchers, which we've been criticized on. So we have increased your liberties, and we're the number one under Forbes magazine in the United States to do business is in North Carolina. And we have to, part of us is to look at local municipalities to see how they're collecting and spending money, and does it hurt small businesses.
What is your position on the $100 million slush fund bond that is going to be managed by Grimesley, Dennison, and Dempsey?
Education of the bonds. I'm for it. I do have concerns of the cost, as Mr. Byrd said. They are going to need to be built, but I've also raised the question in this county, do we have a building problem, or do we have a building maintenance problem, and also do we have a building management problem? And I don't think any of the other two questions have been addressed. I've already voted. I voted for the bonds. Yeah, I did. Sure did. It all started, and I think the preacher agreed with me, when you took prayer out of schools. That's when everything became liberal. But it also boils down to our local Board of Education. Most of these policies are all locals.
You don't know teachers, though.
Now, why do you have to compromise and have equal?
Well,
when your people vote, why are you going to take that away from the voters?
Can we?
But it is very disheartening that we have a federal Senate, House, and President, and they still will not do anything about it. Just got my endorsement from the right of life, 100% votes in the House during my tenure. God did create heaven and earth. And gay rights, I did not vote against HB 2. I voted for it both times.
What would be your view on the value of life as it relates to capacity of magazine? Is my life not worth 35 rounds? Is it limited to just 5 rounds? That's the question.
Thank you.
Preacher, thank you. I am a member of the NRA, and I wish I'd have brought my certificate where they just endorsed me for my votes. I do have it on the desk, and I will bring you a copy of it. Guns are kind of like the trees on Midland Road. The trees didn't kill you, and the guns don't kill you. It's the people that's behind it. The Constitution, we should take very seriously in today's society, because there are so many people wanting us to change the Constitution. if any part of the Constitution is ever amended, then we've lost all of our rights. Our forefathers were so much smarter than we are today. And they're a whole lot more conservative and fiscally responsibility back then than the left wing that we have out here in this society today. So I am no changes to any constitution of taking anybody's rights away from them. People, I've always been criticized, well, you don't pass any bills. Do you know what happens when you pass a bill? You take somebody's rights away from them. We got too many bills out there now. So no, I'm not one that goes up there and files all the bills, try to make a name. I don't do that, and I'm not going to take people's rights away from them. Thank you. When you took prayer out of schools, that's when everything became liberal. But it also boils down to our local Board of Education. Most of these policies are all locals. Because if you've noticed around the state here, a lot of the local boards have issued or banned books and classes. Most of the time I don't even go to Raleigh for a month. The secretary doesn't work because we're part-time legislators.